Keeping confidence up can be tough. Some days you might feel sure of yourself, and other days not so much. The key is to control your thoughts. This week, we'll talk to a guest who will share how he stays confident. We'll get right into it after I hit this music. Joining me this week, I have a very special guest. If you were around in the 90s and you weren't living underneath a rock, you definitely heard his music on television, films, sports arenas. He is one of the members of the hip-hop group tag team, DC, also known as the Brain Supreme.
Yes,
DC,
sir.
thank you for joining me today.
Hey, it is great to be here.
I'm excited. I remember I was 14 years old when I heard WHOOMP, There It Is. And it was on the Mighty Ducks movie, D2 the Mighty Ducks. And then ever since I was like, this song is awesome. And then you heard that song, no matter where you went, WHOOMP, There It Is was playing everywhere. It just took over the
I hear Mighty
airwaves.
Duck stories a lot.
Yeah, I bet you
One
do.
of my neighbors, she has a child, and she didn't know I was who I was. And one of the neighbors had told her. And she was like, me and my kid love that movie, and we look at that movie all the time. And when he got to meet me, he was just frozen. And now we're just all good friends, like it's nothing now. I'm just like, I'm a regular guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not a star. I'm not the rah-rah dude. You won't know who I am unless I tell you.
Yeah.
And
But
that's the beauty of it, because I get to live my life and I get to be a regular person. I think that's better than, I would rather have that than be a super duper duper star and can't do anything. So it's a trade-off.
Yeah. One cool thing about musicians is you guys get to inspire people. And your song, WHOOMP, There It Is, it's a very positive song. It's just about positivity, and you get to bring that to the world. So if you're having a bad day, listen to WHOOMP, There It Is. But you get to inspire people on a daily basis. And stuff that you recorded, has it been 30 years already?
31.
31 years, you still get to inspire people with your work. That's amazing.
It is the greatest gift I could have ever imagined, because I truly bring joy to people. I can see it in their eyes. I can hear it in their voice when they're telling me their stories. I'm very blessed to have been able to, and still able to, go out on the weekends and be a kid again and bring memories, conjure memories from nostalgia for people, and just talk to people and hear their story. And it's just incredible to have that influx of just feel goodness from the people. I give it, but then I get it back. And that's why we still get to do shows, because our energy is unmatched, right? And I know what people want. I've been a DJ my whole life. So when I'm on stage, my whole life is predicated on DJing. Me being in a DJ booth, reading the crowd, keeping the dance floor packed. So whether that's in business, whether that's in music, whether that's in acting, whether that's in voiceover, I have that approach to everything.
Yeah. So DC, can you share us your journey into the music industry and how you were able to build your confidence up along the way?
Well, you know what? I can actually, now that I think about it, my parents made us work. Yeah, I owe everything to my parents. My parents had two little servants, and they're like, you're going to clean up, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to rake leaves, you're going to shovel snow, you're going to wash clothes, you're going to clean off the back porch, you're going to wash all the windows in the house. I'm going to teach you how to cook. And that was fine, but there were conditions to that. It was like, okay, if you want to go out and play, you got to go to church, right? So we had a choice, right? And I'm so grateful for that, because as a grown man, I have never not known work. Therefore, I've never not known confidence, because confidence comes through hard work. I know if I hustle, something good is going to happen. And then at a certain point in life, you get to the point where you don't even think about it. I know that I call it planting seeds. You don't plant a seed, sit down, look at the seed and be like, okay, seed, grow. Come on, seed, grow. We know people who've taken a real estate course and they're like, I'm going to be rich. No, it doesn't work that way. But if you plant that, I don't plant a seed unless I know I'm prepared for the seed to flourish. So I plant seeds and leave them alone and keep it moving, right? Because I have the confidence that I put in the work already to achieve the goal that I'm trying to achieve. And then, I can tell you when it snapped for me. I think it was the blizzard of think it was 79. I think I was like 8, 9 years old. And Denver, Colorado, blizzard. And my mom, right before it started snowing, we went to Sears to get a snowblower. And we were the only family on the block that had a snowblower. And it snowed like 13, 14 inches, which is not a lot, but when it's a blizzard, you got drifts and everything. So
Oh, yeah.
For us, it's just kids playing in snow. But for everybody else, if you're older, that could be a heart attack. So we did our driveway and sidewalks, and then I seen Mr. Grant struggling next door. I was like, we got you. Then we just ended up doing the whole neighborhood. And that next week, when me and my brother would come home from school, people would call, hey, come here. Like, here's $20. I appreciate you doing my sidewalk. You saved me a lot of work. And it was like, ting, ding, 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 ding. Man, my parents only paying me $5 a week for allowance, and they working us 10 times harder. And that's when a hustler was born, right? And that innovation right there has made me who I am today, because I know as long as I work, and long as I really grind, I'm going to make me some money. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to survive. So I've never not known work as a grown man. I've had a job. I started out with a paper boy. And then I got a job moving, projectors at the college, at Auraria campus in University of Colorado, Denver, right? TVs and projectors and slides and all that, just making sure they were in the right classrooms. That was very lucrative for a 13-year-old. Then I worked at an ice cream shop. Then the next job I had was at Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado, selling Pepsis, right? Started working at restaurants. And then I became a DJ. And that's when it all changed. And, I had met Steve in high school, the other half of tag team, in the 11th grade. And Steve and them had a band. And I was like, they were playing the quad at lunchtime sometimes. I was like, I've got to be in that band. And I pestered them forever, and I ended up being in the band. And then I worked at the truancy office, and down the hall was Dr. Joyce Davis, because we went to Manual High School, class of 84, in Denver, Colorado. And the choir was called Boat Vibration. And I would hear angelic music. I was like, I got to be in that choir. End up being in the choir. And then I went to the first high school dance at that school, and I saw 2 turntables and a mixer. And I was like, that is what I want to do. Because we all took piano lessons, and parents tried to make us do music and stuff like that because they just want to keep you busy. But when I saw 2 turntables and a mixer and a microphone, that changed my life. And everybody in the neighborhood would get mad at me because I was downstairs practicing, tearing up my dad's records, right? And fast forward, going to college, I ended up being a great DJ for all the frat parties, right? Then end up DJing at the clubs. And then my freshman year, a friend of mine who stayed on the same dorm level had a 4-track recorder, brand new Tascam 4-track. And for those who don't know, we used to have to go to the studio and put down tracks to make a song. But the invention of the Tascam, you could take a cassette tape and pop it in, and you have 4 tracks. And you could do it however you want to do it, and that's how I learned how to make songs. And the first batch of songs, I sent a mixtape to Steve in Denver, because I went to Sac State University. He thought I was in the devil worship. And it's just because I was using everything I could, pots and pans, whatever, playing the flute, beatboxing, scratching, whatever. And then he got one, and then we just started making songs back and forth. So the ability to make songs in your house, like kids do now on a computer, that started way back in 1984, 85, 86.
Wow.
And we got good at it. And then fast forward, I'm a big DJ in California, but I came down to visit Steve because he came to Atlanta to go to the Art Institute of Atlanta. And when I came down here to visit for Christmas, I knew that I was going to move to Atlanta. Went back, came down, moved to Atlanta. I had a job at CNN. I'll never forget it. I got here on a Wednesday, and we went to the movies and saw Spike Lee Do the Right Thing, right? 1989. And that night, they took me to an adult entertainment club, Magic City. And the DJ was drunk or something. And I hadn't really thought about DJing, but when I heard that, I was like, I thought all these DJs down here were going to be incredible. It's like, I'm just as good as them. And I saw the owner. I was like, hey, man, you need a DJ? Because I can DJ in the summer and go to CNN in the fall. And he was like, no, I don't need a DJ, but come see me. So I went and saw him Monday. And he said, I need a cook, though. I was like, chef. And he said, okay. You be the cook and the backup DJ. I think I cooked 2 orders of chicken wings and made a salad. And then the daytime DJ was like, hey, man, can you DJ for me? I'll go run some errands. I was like, sure. But I was like, I don't know if you want to do that because I'm about to take everybody's job now. And that day, all the girls were like, who is this dude? And the sheer magnitude of my DJing made them money because it was a party the rest of the day. Right. And then I think that was on a Thursday. That weekend they have a monthly meeting where all the employees come. And before that meeting started, 2 of the girls got a Nikki and a Indigo. And they were like, Magic, we want him. Magic looked at me, like, all right, you up. And I've been the head DJ at every club I've ever DJed since. And, fast forward, I'm still making music. I'm living down south with Steve, so we're in Atlanta. We're set in Atlanta. And I realized that Atlanta's not a hub for hip-hop, but it is for booty shake and bass music, right? And, the big hubs were New York and they were L.A. So I knew we had to make something up-tempo if we were going to get out of the Southeast, right? And still because we want to be rock stars. That's just what it was. And I have just always been relentless. I've always figured it out. I've always reverse engineered. I've always just don't accept no for an answer. And, there was a saying, a party saying in the clubs, you know what I mean? And it was "Whoomp, there it is." And I told Steve we need to make a beat. And we made the beat. And I had other songs that I could have put on that beat, but "Whoomp, there it is" was just fit. And it was just another song to us, but we went to the studio. It was summer of 92. I popped it in a cassette when I got to work, and to this day, it's the biggest response on any record I've ever played. Like 15 people came to DJ booth like, what the hell is that? And, my hubris took over. I'm like, well, everything I make is going to be the bomb. So that's how I just started making songs like that, and it was cool, but later on in the fall, one of the girls was like, how come you don't play "Whoomp, there it is" no more, Cherry? And I was like, I'll play it for you. Played again. This time, Alan Cole from Columbia Records was in the house. He was like, what is that? It's like, that's my new record. He's like, give me that. Took it to Columbia Records in New York because it was just, New York and LA, but they had satellites all over the country because they had to service record pools, they had to service radio stations, they had to service DJs and anybody who, that's how they kind of spread the record out through the regions, right? So they had a big meeting in New York. He went up there. I'm getting calls from Columbia Records now. Then I go with Epic, like all the major labels, but they didn't really know what to do with it because we're down south at that time. And I almost gave up. And this beautiful lady who worked at Mercury Records named Lisa McCall was like, you need to talk to Al Bell. And for those who don't know who Al Bell is, Al Bell was at the beginning of soul music. So at the beginning of soul music, there was Philly International, Motown with Berry Gordy, and Stax Records. And the owner was Al Bell. Fast forward 92, he has another label called Life Records, and he puts out Daisy Dukes by Deuce. And that went gold. So I was like, I can go gold. I called him, took him about 2 weeks to call me back. And he's like, how you doing, Mr. Glenn? I was like, hey, man, before we even get started, I have a hit record. It's been tested. You need to sign us. He was like, okay. I was like, man, don't play with me, dude. You haven't even heard the record. And I'll never forget these words. He said, brother, I don't have to hear the record. I hear it in your spirit. Let's agree to agree and get this thing moving. I was like, cool. I gave my 2 weeks in Magic City, signed a messed up record deal, and in a month and a half, Tag Team was platinum, and the rest is history.
Wow. That's amazing. And you mentioned something earlier. You said you only plant seeds if you know if they're going to flourish. How do you know?
Not know if they're going to flourish.
Know that they are going to
flourish.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? It's preparation. So I don't plant a seed unless I prepare, do my homework first.
Gotcha.
Right? You got to put in the work first before you even plant the seed, right? You got to know what type of soil you're planting it in. You got to know the conditions. You got to know the seasons. You got to know all these things. You got to know what fertilizer you're going to use before you even put that seed in the ground, right?
Yep.
So I don't plant a seed unless I know that I'm willing to do the work that it takes to be successful in that seed growing.
Gotcha.
Now, sometimes it don't grow right away, right? Sometimes there's an incubation period. Sometimes It's like out of sight, out of mind. But 6 months down the road, somebody will be like, you know what? I saw that email. I want to book you guys for 5 corporate events, right? It's like, okay. Because see, the key to it is there is no quid pro quo. You can't do something and say, hey, if this don't happen, if I do this, this better happen. The world don't work like that. Mm-hmm. So once you see, life for me is about subtracting all the toxic things that can hold you back. That quid pro quo is one of the toxic things that can hold you back because now you're always expecting something. And then I realized a long time ago, 3 rules. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody's going to give you anything. And don't nobody care. Once you realize that, your mind is truly open to every possibility, right? Because you're not bogged down with all these preconceived, these preconditions, right? It's like, do the work. If it happens, cool. If not, hey, it's all good. Like, I became an actor in 2017, and I am so glad that I put in the work because now I'm an actor. But what acting taught me is my job is to get rejected. Just because you get rejected doesn't mean that you are less than. You're just not right for that job.
Yeah.
You're not right for that movie. If I audition for something, and then if you do it and if you keep a good aura about yourself and you're a good sport about it, I might not get this part. They might be like, he's not good for this part because he's 6'2" and she's 5'4". We need somebody shorter. He's too dark. He's too big. He looks like my ex-husband. I can't mess with him, right? Like, you don't know what factors there are, but after you do the audition, it's out of your hands. But if I keep up a good face, he's not good for this, but he might be good for that. I can use him for that. I've gotten a lot of jobs that way because I always ask everybody, what made you pick me? Like, cuz we knew you were good for another part, better than this one, right? So you have to do the work, but you can't expect anything. Yeah. And now my job is to get rejected. I applied that to my life. So when I get rejected in things, I realize that I'm just not right for that part, right? Not all the parts, just that part. Once you realize that, then it's about, the guy who goes to the club or goes to the party and he's just hammering every girl in the party, just trying to talk to every girl in the party, and he's just getting rejected. And he's like, man, why are you so horny, or why are you always on the women? And he's like, because if there's 100 women in the party, I'm gonna get 5. All I need is 1.
Yeah.
It's the law of averages, right? It's the attempts, and you learn from the attempts, right? So these are mechanisms throughout life that you have to reverse them, right? I often say, I thrive in the bizarro world. Now, for people who don't know what the bizarro world is, when we were young, Superman had an arch nemesis who was in a different, what do they call it? I can't think of the word, different orbit, so it was a bad world. In the bizarro, Superman was the bad Superman. In today's terms, it's upside down from like Stranger Things. I thrive. If you can't thrive in the upside down, you're in trouble, right? Those are the people who get eaten by the monster. But preparation always prepares you for the upside down. It prepares you for the worst because I think, what's the worst case scenario first? So I don't get blindsided. Because like I said, life is baked in the cake. Things are going to happen, but it's how you respond, right? And it's more, I don't like to use the word confidence. It's more strategic planning and preparation that prepares you for things to happen that you can deal with, right? And then in turn, that really looks like confidence because I'll go work at McDonald's if I had to. But you best believe I'm going to start as a fry cook and then I'm going to be the manager. Then I'm going to own one after a minute.
Yeah. You made another good point. When you say about, planting your seeds, you're right. It may not flourish right away. There is that incubation period. And I think that's what can destroy someone's confidence is because they expect results like that. like it has to happen. It didn't happen. It could be 6 months to 1 year. So you got, going back to your timeline, you started DJing in the, was it late 80s
Mm-hmm.
and
Actually, no, I
90?
started DJing in 1982.
Okay. Did you have hopes and dreams of being a musician at that time? Was that your goal?
I always wanted to be a rock star. Well, actually, I was just DJing, but I was in a band, so we wanted to be rock stars. I mean, like I found an article the other day at my parents' house where even back then I was hustling. And I remember that we had an article in the paper and telling people what we did and the type of shows that we were doing. I remember that I would go to these places that had bands and I'd be like, give us a try. And they would give us a try. So we might have 6 or 7 shows when I would come back for the summer, right? Not knowing what I was doing, just hustling. I used to sell cassette. We'd get some songs done. I put them on cassette, sell them in the park. Then I just end up giving them away. Like, you have to preparation, what works, what doesn't work, learn the game. Now, the thing that I learned later in life is that it's not enough to just learn. So, why didn't I learn from a book? Why didn't I go figure out these things back then? Well, youth is wasted on the young, right? And I figured out learning how to learn is so much more fun. It's not enough to learn. You got to learn how to learn. How do I learn this? Well, you can learn through audiobooks. You can learn through AI now. You can learn through YouTube. You can learn through all these different avenues of education. You can learn, like, the things that I do to, like, if I write something and write in AI, then I make it read to me aloud, because if it reads well, it writes well, right? So then while it's reading back to me, I record it. So the person that I'm trying to give it to, I let them hear it first and then give them the copy so they can edit it, right? But if it reads well, it writes well. Then you're hearing how it hits. You're hearing how if somebody was up there and they were speaking in a different voice, what would it be? Would you be bored or would you be excited? Would you be interested, right? All that comes from all these experiences. All that comes from me doing podcasts every other day.
Yeah.
You find your voice, right? Because I've done 1,000 podcasts as an expert guest, I'm not a motivational speaker, because you get good at it. You start coming up with, with rapping, I was already good with metaphors and, just different types of lyrics and stuff like that. But now it's about articulation. It's about diction. It's about, am I holding my audience's attention? The DJ, I'm the DJ. Is my dance floor packed right now? I would say yes. Because you're listening to me. You're not looking at your watch. You're listening to me. So there are certain mechanisms. This is a confidence booster too. Because when you get to that point, outside world don't seem that bad, right? And you just always have, you got to remember, it's not rejection. You're just not right for the part. You can't be right for every part. The world doesn't work like that. You got to remember, you got to put things in a practicality. Right? I deal with solutions. I'm not worried about the problems, but the key to doing that is you got to stay out of your emotions. So I could take any emotion: fear, envy, hate, loathing, despair. Sound like Yoda. And I could take these emotions and I don't react. I put them in my pocket, right? If you're having an argument with somebody, I'm not going to argue with you, because I know what I know. And I'm listening, but I'm not going to argue with you because you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm going to just let you keep going down that hole of despair, right? Because if I don't know, I'm going to go find out. And I'm good enough to know that. And the key to doing that is that you have to sequester your pride and kill your ego.
Yeah.
You've got to sequester your pride and ego. People want to argue because they want to win arguments. But have you truly won if I let you win an argument and what your premise is false, or your premise is ignorant, right? I'm not going to argue with you, because I'm going to go find out what it is for real by myself. I don't have to convince you that I know what I'm talking about. I can show you I know what I'm talking about. Actions speak, right? So that's how when I learned how to do that, which is about 15 years ago, changed a lot for me. Changed a whole lot for me. And then the biggest key is you cannot let life pass you by. I watch so many people pass away, lose interest in life because they let life pass them by. We're in a different day now. Retirement, I won't retire until I get tired. But I'm not retiring because it's like, oh, you're supposed to retire. No. You get one life. I'm about to ride it till the wheels fall off. And I swear I watched my father. He has a PhD. He was a dean of the University of Colorado, ethnic studies. And I watched that man deteriorate because when computers came out, he's like, I don't need no computer. I got you. I read books. That online stuff is crap. And then 15 years later, well, I want an iPhone. Well, you don't know how to use a computer. You really ain't gonna learn how to use an iPhone, right? And those things are detrimental because now you can't do research on your health. You can't find the information you need to find. At the beginning of the internet, Bill Gates said it better than anybody. He said the future is information. He who has the information first wins. So any technology comes out, I'm on it, right? Any financial technology. I've just vowed that the mistakes that I made in life, I will never make them again because I'm going to educate myself out of it. Yeah. Right? Bad record contract. Okay. I could have became an old bitter rapper. Nope. I am going to figure out what the hell they're talking about because legalese is ugly. But once I started learning what they're talking about, I learned what emotion is. I learned how cases come to trial. I learned what discovery was. I learned all these things. I basically became a paralegal. Same with finance. I'll never let nobody beat me out of money ever again. Well, How do you start? Hey, the year 2000, I would watch CNBC, knew nothing what they were talking about. Year 2002, I knew everything because I studied finance and became a licensed commodities broker, right? And because I like commodities. And they end up knowing about Forex, end up knowing about stocks. But to me, it's all intellectual gambling and I can't separate the two. So I get emotional about it. So we do have weaknesses, right? But at the same time, there are different ways to invest. And you just fill up all these little buckets a little bit all the time consistently, which develops discipline. And if you don't see the money, you don't know the money's gone. Yeah. You always feel a little broke, but you're not because you've been growing this money for years, right? And that's the key. You have to get out of your own way and figure things out. And I tell people all the time, there are no mistakes in life. There are no missed opportunities. Because you can correct all of it, right? Yeah, now, I'm not going to go trial for the Broncos at 58. Of course not, right? But the things that I've always wanted to do now that I couldn't do back in the day, I never thought I would do back in the day, I am now. 1994, I'm sitting in the bowels of Disney because we did a record with Mickey Mouse called WHOOMP, There It Went. And now I'm teaching the voices, the husband and wife team, Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, how to rap. And they're teaching me about voiceover. And I beat myself up for years because I was in tag team mode, like, okay, I'm WHOOP, there it is. Talk to my manager. I'll, whatever. Right? My head wasn't there. Youth is wasted on the young. And I beat myself up for years. Right? But then now I'm a voiceover artist making money, doing auditions every day. I got 5 agents. Now that's my career. I'm a voice artist. The next year, I'm sitting in the office of New Line Cinema, and our manager was college friends with the new president. New Line Cinema was brand new back then, and he was like, "Man, you look great for this part that I want to get you in this movie." And I'm like, "Yeah. Talk to my manager." And he was like, "The leads are LL Cool J. They're fighting for it, and Wesley Snipes." He said, "It's a vampire movie. It's called Blade." I beat myself up for years because I was there, right? But 20 years later, I'm an actor. Been in movies, been in television series, and I'm continuing, right? Because that's something I can do as long as I'm healthy, as long as my brain's functioning, as long as I can remember lines. I put in the work and continue to put in the work. So as long as you're breathing, it's never too late, right? And that's how I see everything. I want to get into real estate. Something I should have done 20 years ago, but it's never too late. Just got to put in the work. So that's what keeps me It's like my forever fountain of youth. That's what like during that whole legal battle, because it was a 20-year legal battle, I had to go back to DJ. So I had to humble myself because I thought I had big money, but I didn't have record company money. So they bled me. I had to learn a hard lesson. So I had to go back and do what I do best, DJ. But I was still doing shows too. So we've always done shows, and in a commercial every year. There's a commercial or it's in a movie every year, and we get a little piece, but we weren't getting what we were supposed to get, right? And it was like so frustrating, but it was like that was a valuable lesson, because the first thing you have to do when you make, I wouldn't even say it's a mistake, when you make a decision and when you make a choice, you have to take responsibility for your actions. They're like, man, they took advantage of you, man. That just was unfair for y'all. I was like, no, it wasn't. I didn't do my due diligence. I've taken responsibility for every mistake that I've made in my life. And when you do that, now you can move on, right?
Yeah.
Because now it's always going to stay in the back of your head. Like, oh, but if I couldn't do that, I wouldn't have now the ability to work with the record companies that own a piece of my record. Because if people got a license through the record company, well, then let me be the funnel, so they come to me first, and then I send them to the record company. But at first, I'm like, so man, can we be in a commercial? Can we be in the movie? And maybe I could do a voiceover for the movie. Maybe I can do this. I'm squeezing that lemon for me, right? Where it's separate from the record company, and then give it to the record company, and that's basically the Geico commercial. That's basically how a lot of this stuff gets done. Right? Because, I could tell you, 2011. See, the key is when you see things that aren't right, you have to vow that they will never happen again. 2011, the world thought Barack Obama was in our music video. That was a shot in the arm, because it was like we were on ABC, NBC, CBS, because everybody was trying to find something about him negative. They couldn't find nothing. It was like early on. And they just tried to make a big thing. It was a Gawker article. Remember Gawker? They just always, they're like the Onion now, right? So it's like they did that. And 2 weeks, all we did was press. Stephen Colbert's show, everything. And at the end of that 2 weeks, I didn't have no money in my pocket. And it pissed me off, because I was like, what am I doing this for? But I realized that I don't have a web presence. Our website ain't right. I don't know SEO. I don't know digital marketing. This is the beginning of social media. I vowed that that'll never happen again. And that's what started my digital marketing career. And I learned it all. And now I'm masterful at all of it, right? I know how to build funnels. I know how to build all these things that can get you in front of the people who can pay you. Something as simple as filling out all your profiles online correctly so people can find you, right? Optimizing everything you do so people can find you, because it is about getting in front of the people who can pay you. And fast forward 2020, we're in the middle of the pandemic. I get a call from my acting agent. DC, you just booked a Geico commercial. Why are you playing with me in the middle of a pandemic? No, DC, tag team. Oh, because I filled out all those profiles right. The Martin agency, who represents Geico, calls my phone. I looked at the message. I was like, wow, they did call. But they went to IMDb, found my acting agent, called my acting agent, and now I don't have to go get lawyers. I don't have to go do anything. I let them make the deal. And that is the biggest, most lucrative deal I've ever made in my life. And it was for me and for us to get that money, right? And that changed everything. But we're in the middle of a pandemic, so I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Well, it's time to work. So I said, what can you do? Well, let's blow up acting, blow up voiceover. Let's start marketing yourself during the pandemic while people's here, because I reinvented myself in voiceover in the pandemic and went back over because everything I do, I record. Every class, every session, every acting session, I record. And it's the game tape. Why Tom Brady's great. It goes back to the game tape. You look at the tendencies, you figure out things. And I looked at where I was I had to listen to myself talk 10 years ago. Do you know how hard that is to do?
Yeah.
You know how ignorant you are 10 years ago? It's unbelievable, right? And I reinvented myself on voiceover because that's the only thing I could do during the pandemic. And then all of a sudden I started booking, and because I was the voice. We're all in this together. COVID, right? I'm that voice. And I start booking like crazy. Then here comes the Geico commercial. So I say, I'm going to blow it all up, even though I can't go do shows. We can't go do anything. And that is why I joined organizations. I joined Public Relations Society of America. I'm going to be my own publicist. So it's Super Bowl week. It's that Wednesday. I'm on this podcast, this group podcast, and this 40-year veteran of publicity. And I was like, raise my hand. I say, our press release is still relevant. I know they're relevant. And she's like, well, what's it for? I was like, well, I'm kind of featured in a Geico commercial called Scoop. There it is. And I'm looking at the chat, and it's just like, I love that commercial. My mama loves that commercial. My dog loves that commercial. And it's just like, calm down, everybody. See, here's how I switched it. Now it's about me. And she's like, first of all, I love that commercial. She said, yes, it's going to work. You're going to go here for all the TV shows. You're going to go here for all other publicity. You're going to go here for all the articles. You're going to go here for all, just everything. Podcasts. She gave me the entire breadth of her existence in 10 minutes. And it changed my life forever. And is the reason you and I are talking right now. Because this is publicity.
Yeah.
And I dropped the press release that day. I get a call Thursday from the Dan Patrick Show. The weekend of Super Bowl. And then Friday, I'm on the Dan Patrick Show talking about Magic City and Tom Brady. National TV. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's confidence. That's hustle. That's hard work. That's thinking outside. I don't even want to say thinking outside. That's reverse engineering, thinking outside the box. Remember, there is always a way.
Yeah.
And
so
you can't be the first to think of something.
Exactly. So basically what you did, what people would view as negative experiences in their life, you just took that as a learning experience. Like, okay.
It's even deeper than that. This is what you have to learn how to do. You have to learn how to find the positive in the negative.
Yes.
If you can learn, because that's where the solutions are. You find the positive in the negative, that is your solution for everything. Every situation you're in, what is the positive part about this? Can we dwell on the positive part about this? Because the negative is going to be there, right? It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. It's there. It's not going anywhere. So you got to offset it with some positive. What is the positive aspect of this? What can I learn from this? How is this going to change me? How can I be changed off this? How can I change people from this experience? You have to find the positive in the negative. And then it's not about positive thinking. It's just about getting out of that space and being productive in a different way. And that's what I do. So I love adversity. I love challenges. I love all of it, right? Because everybody's been bullied. But pretty much everybody gets out of it. You grow up and realize, yeah, I was bullied, but I'm still living and I'm still thriving and I'm a millionaire and it's all good. But people don't realize that the fact that somebody did that to you, now when somebody does it to you as a grown-up, you see it coming before it even hits you.
Yeah.
You know when somebody's hating on you. You know when somebody's talking about behind you about your back. You know these things. These are instincts that have to be built. This is fight or flight, right? We learn at a young age. So people shouldn't bully ever, right? But if you were bullied, you have to sit back and you have to say, how can I adjust myself? Or how can I use this to be better, right? How do I move? Do I move differently, right? Do I go a different way? Can I use my mouth? Can I use my mouthpiece? What can I do to alleviate this, right? Everybody has their thing and how they do it. But I know that for me, as a entertainer, I don't wear jewelry. I'm plain as can be because I don't want to bring attention to myself because I want to live my life, right? I get to live my life. I get to talk to people and meet people, and they love me for the character, and before they even know who I am. And when they love me for my character already, and they see that I'm a good dude, then the whoomp there it is the icing on the cake.
I love it, DC. We're gonna wrap this up here. One thing I want to talk quickly, briefly on, do you have any advice for even musicians, actors who feel like they have that imposter syndrome, who are, there's actors who tried out for roles, never got a part yet. Should they just maybe, stop? Maybe acting is not for me because maybe they're just not cut out for an acting job or as a musician job. What's your advice for that? How do you, because I know people like that who are struggling actors out in LA and they just can't seem to get the job. They give up on themselves too easily. One friend of mine starts a podcast. It didn't hit 30,000 listens in 1 week under 3 months, which is insane. He just gave up on it. That's like, why? Why do you do that? It's like, what's your advice for those people? Like, how can they have that mindset? Like, okay, I got to keep planting that seed. I'm going to do, so let's say for acting, I'm going to keep doing these roles, keep going to those auditions, because going to auditions is planting those seeds. And you may get 100 rejections. It doesn't mean you're a bad actor. You haven't found that role, but how do you get that mindset though? Because being told nope, nope, nope over and over again does knock you down a bit.
That's your job. You got to understand that is your job. Your job is to get rejected. So if you love your job, which is acting, that is your job, to get rejected. Because all you need is one good role.
Just keep doing it.
All you need is one. You need somebody to see you and be like, you know what? We're going to put him on this and we're going to put him on that. Next thing you know, you go from making SAG, plus scale to making $10,000 in a series regular to making $50,000 in a movie to making $250,000 in another movie, making $20,000 per episode in a series. You see what I'm saying? Because you kept going, right? Our job is to be rejected. Your job in life is to be rejected. So if you look at it that way, everything else is gravy.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's less stressful. Less stressful too. Less stressful.
It's all easier said than done.
Yeah.
But just like with working out, you gotta work that muscle. And you gotta work your network, your confidence muscle. You gotta work all those muscles. And you have to come up with tactics and you gotta come up with tricks that work your brain to give you the mindset that you need to have to just survive through these things, right? That's what it's all about. It's about getting to the next audition. Like I was getting 5-6 auditions a week, and then I kind of thought I was the bomb and thought I was always going to get auditions. So it's like, I ain't got to do this audition. One of the biggest casting directors was like, we're not sending him no more auditions. Now there was a reason for that because it was during the COVID. We were coming out of it and everything, but it scared me because, dude, what are you doing? Do you know how people would break their leg to have 5 auditions in a week? You're not doing an audition, so you're just throwing away a chance to be in a movie? What? And it hurt me, right? But okay, it's my responsibility. I take the hit for it. Now I got to start all over again, right? Now I don't really have to start over again, but I have to start over again. I have to let people know that they can trust me and they can believe in me and they can depend on me to do what I need to do. So now when I get an audition, it changed how I do auditions. I go, it depends on who you are too. Every time I get an audition, I go get a coach. I don't even do the audition by myself. I get a coach because I want the best opportunity and the best chance to do it. Right? Now, if I got to pay $60 to do it, cool, but I'm learning from these different actors, right? All actors especially. There's a site called We Audition. We Audition. It's hundreds of actors who will read for you so you can practice. If you get a script, you can practice that script with somebody through the Zoom process, right? But if you go through the whole roster of everybody who's a reader, all I want are the people who are Juilliard trained. All I want are the people who are classically trained in Europe, classically trained in Australia, soap opera, right? Or some people who do, series, because soap opera, that's 5 days a week. Because now you can get clues from these people. They've got it beat in them so bad that they can teach it to you. They can tell you what you're doing wrong. They can give you techniques and tactics on how to get better. That's a way of going to class without having to go to class. You see what I'm saying? You got to figure it. They call me DC, the brain supreme, for a reason. I figure it out.
I have a friend
Always.
who's a soap opera actor, Sean Kanan. He was on my podcast, and he told me one thing, because I do my podcast a lot. I'm not trying to grow my podcast as much. I'm doing it to become a better public speaker.
Yes.
And one day he goes, Tim, you need to add more pauses when you speak. I was like these simple tips I didn't even think about, but like
pauses,
you want to be a good public pauses.
If you really want people to hear what you're saying, lower your voice and talk with intent.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm bombastic, but learning voiceover, I couldn't be like I am on stage. I had to learn how to take it slow and drop it down. And this is what made me better at acting. I'll never forget it. Natalia Livingston, my acting coach. We're doing a scene. I'm right next to this person, and I'm saying my lines like this, and because I'm happy to be acting. And she's like, DC, why are you so loud? And I was like, well, I'm trying. And she was like, first of all, if you're on set, you're going to have a microphone in so you can whisper. That changed my acting forever, because now I can talk like this and I still come across just as good, just as any emotion I want to come across with, I can do it by whisper, right? And it picks up like that. So if you really look at television shows, especially like crime dramas, they're all talking like this. They're all talking like this, and the body is such and such, this, it was this degrees, and boom, 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 and blah, blah, blah. But they're articulate and they're talking. So you have all those fluctuations when you're public speaking. You really can do things. So it's more of a paintbrush on how you want to talk, right? So I know when I talk to people and I do public speaking, I know how to use my voice in a way. You've heard it today, right? Everybody that listens to this will be engaged, because I'm going to say something that's like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. Oh, I didn't think of it that way. But then it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it too sometimes, right? And that is the key to doing it. So like, everybody's like, are you getting paid to do those things? No. Well, why are you doing it? Because I'm killing 14 birds with one stone, right? I'm practicing articulation, diction, all those things. I can use this. I'm going to send you a series of instructions so I can have a link. So now I will be found. If you type in DC Glenn, my name, you're going to see a bunch of podcasts, right? Like, it's for SEO, it's for placement, and, I'm building links to my website. Because every time my name, if you put my name on about 10 platforms, Apple, all the other ones, right? That's 10 links that go back to your website because you got DC Glenn in the name, right? Those are the things, those little things, those behind the scene things are the things that help you get in front of the people who can pay you, right? And the key to it all is I tell people join an organization, because organizations are filled with people who've been masterful at their careers for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. They can't wait to help you because they're all in an organization that they love. So there's no hate in that organization. There's no competition because they're already successful. They're trying to help people in that organization to come up, right? So anything you want to, I'm a part of 30 different organizations, because when I want to learn something fast, I join an organization, because what better way is it to learn something than to have somebody who's been doing it for 40 years say, look here, young boy, this is how I did it. All I need to know is how you did it. So I'm letting you tell your big fish story. But at the same time, I'm listening. I'm like, okay, he did that. All right, cool. Okay, don't do that. Okay, all right, cool. And I'm a little different because when I go to a convention, I put on a big "Whoomp, there it is" t-shirt. And now I'm walking around with a "Whoomp, there it is" t-shirt, and nobody still knows who I am. They're like, I like that shirt. And then I set up in a high traffic area. And when people come out of all their classes and stuff like that, all the workshops and stuff, they stop at the table or stop where I'm at and, fix their water bottle or whatever. And I just say, so what do you do? And I just start conversations with people. And then I end up befriending so many people. And then the last thing is, well, what do you do? And I was like, well, back in the day, I made a song called "Whoomp, There It Is" in the 90s. And I'm here trying to do this, that, and get the resources so I could start a series of laundromats. And they're like, no. And then they really want to help, right? And then, when you're just starting, there's going to be 5 organizations. So you call each one and you say, why should I join your organization? They give you money to join your organization. They're going to be like, cuz we can do this and that and this and that. And what they don't realize is while they're pitching you, they're teaching you.
Yep.
It's all about how you gain access to the information that can help you come up. And when you have all these techniques to be able to do that, that instills confidence, that instills fearlessness. There's nothing on this earth that you can't do. That's how I see it. And I invite everybody to start really thinking differently about how they see this life that they've been gifted with.
I love it, DC.
Go for an answer. Be relentless.
I love it because I have
it ain't
people
nothing
ask.
But work.
Yeah,
it is nothing but work.
I had people in my own family ask me, Tim, why do you keep doing podcasts? You don't make no money off of it. Because it helps me become better at speaking to people.
Yes.
I want to become a better public speaker. I want to go out and do seminars on anti-bullying, improve kids' lives, work with parents. But in order to do that, I need to become a better speaker. And
because they got
podcasting
to
is
trust you.
the easiest
right?
way to do it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the easiest way to do it. You get to do it every day, and you get better at it. You start coming up with little analogies. You start coming up with, like, there's so many times I've been to podcasts, and I say some stuff that's so cold-blooded, and I'll be like, you know what, I got to be honest. I just thought of that. Right? It happens all the time.
Yep.
And now that's in my repertoire of things that make sense, that move people, right? Like with social media. I can tell you this one, my social media, social media is about attention. Everybody wants attention. That's the worst of it, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't do it for that. I do it for optimization because I don't need 100,000 people to like me. I just need 100 people to pay me.
Yeah, exactly. DC, I love it. If people want to follow you, how can they do that?
Just type in DC Glenn and you'll find everything. That's optimization, SEO. The ability to be found. Just type in my name and you'll find me. I'm not hard to find.
Well, DC, thank you so much for coming on my podcast today. You're very enlightening. I love hearing your story of your ups and downs in lives, how you learned from it. Whatever your mind was set to, you accomplished it by hard work and hustle, and that builds confidence. And I think that's really good to hear. People need to hear that stuff because people expect results instantly, but no, it takes work. It takes work. You're a kid. If you want to be confident, you got to brush your hair. You got to brush your teeth. You got to wear clean clothes. Don't wear the clothes you wore yesterday. It takes work. And I love that you just, even said that today. It takes work. It's, hustle.
The hustle.
Have confidence. I love it.
All about the hustle. Hey, man, I appreciate you letting me come on here and run my mouth because I learn more from running my mouth. I appreciate that opportunity. So you have a good rest of your day. And to all your listeners, peace. There it is.